What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Dollar, and we back with another reaction video. Today we got the first school threats of all time. You feel me? It says the first serial killer couple. We want to see. I haven't reacted to this video. I ain't watched this video before. My reactions are live. For none of my reactions, you know I gotta say that. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below what y'all want me to react to next. Skipping the ad. And
there have been plenty of serial killer couples, but you could argue that the Brits had the
rolling the Zaza right now.
worst of them. Couple.
The most evil serial killer couple of all time. If I messed up in the beginning. Get it.
Like the literature-loving, psychopathic sadists Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, who murdered children in England in the 1960s. While those two murderers were sick to the nth degree, sometimes taking photos of themselves with their dead victims, and once recording a female victim pleading
photos of themselves, what the fuck?
For her life, Fred and Rose West could be said to be even more vile. These were not natural-born killer types, wayward youngsters lost in the madness of a killing spree. This terribly odd couple tortured, mentally abused, and murdered many young female victims in what certainly deserves to be called a house of horrors. Welcome to this episode of the infographic show, Fred and Rose, the sickest serial killer couple of all time. We should warn you that this is a horrific story that could be upsetting for some viewers. Fred West was born on September 29, 1941, in a small idyllic village in Herefordshire, England. Rosemary Letts was born in Devon on November 29, 1953. Can anything that happened in their childhoods explain their turning into torturers and killers? We think you'll agree that the answer is absolutely yes. Fred was the youngest of 7 children, and he was doted on by his mother. Some reports state that the doting went way too far, and his mother had an incestuous relationship with him. Although after his arrest, Fred's brother, Doug West, told the press, "None of us was ever abused in any way by anybody." In spite of this, after his arrest, Fred privately told a social worker he had slept with his mother but didn't think there was anything wrong with it. After his arrest, Fred told police that his father had relationships with very young girls, including his own sisters, and also taught him how to have sex with sheep.
What the fuck? What the fuck? That shit caught me off guard. The fuck wrong with that nigga talking about sex with sheep?
These are just crazy fantasies, and life was normal for the family. Fred also said he was made to cut the throats of pigs, something Doug also says is just one of Fred's lies. Another person who knew Fred as a boy said this about him. He was a bit cheeky, a bit mouthy, but that was the way these kids were. I would say that he was probably naive and easily led. But then, at 17, Fred had a motorcycle accident which left him in a coma for 7 days. Even before that, his IQ was said to be only 84. 2 years later, he was hit hard in the face by a guy after groping a girl. Fred fell 2 floors, and his already damaged head was hit again. This could be vital to understanding what happened later in his life, as head traumas can do strange things to people, including affecting moral judgment and inhibitions. In fact, a document, unearthed, showed the family saying Fred's personality totally changed, and he suddenly started lying, bragging, boasting, and stealing. Shortly after these accidents, Fred's 13-year-old younger sister...
So he started doing all that after he got hit in the head. Man, I don't want to hear it, bro. That nigga been a school threat, bro. It is the head pain brought it out of him.
Sister told her mom that Fred had been raping her for 6 months and she was impregnated. When asked, Fred said that he'd been molesting girls for a long time, saying, "Doesn't everybody do it?" Fred never went...
Bro, come on, bro. This shit sounds sick as fuck.
That he'd been molesting girls for a long time, saying, "Doesn't everybody do it?" Fred never went to...
So he got hit in the head and started raping girls, and he think just because he got hit in the head it's okay for him to impregnate a... Come on, bro.
Prison, as his sister refused to testify in court. There are other reports stating Fred also impregnated another young girl who was a friend of the family. One thing is for sure, he was unbalanced, dangerous, and certainly became the black sheep of this farming family. And now, Rose. Allegedly, both Rose's parents were mentally ill, and her mother even went through electroconvulsive therapy when Rose was in the womb. It's possible this decision by British healthcare workers may have resulted in Rose becoming what some call a slow child. child. She also grew obese in school, was bullied for that, and had little interest in studies. Some people believe this was all because of the prenatal injury. Rose's mother, Daisy, suffered from extreme depression, the reason for those electric shock treatments. If that wasn't bad enough, her father Bill was said to be a violent, paranoid schizophrenic who beat the women and ruled the house like a despot. Rose was sometimes called Dozy Rosie. Dozy as in slow thinking. And young Dozy Rosie wasn't even allowed to play outside. They just walked around.
But like, I don't give a fuck. These killers and fucking serial killers and school threats and shit be trying to use their past as a reason to fucking do dirty ass stuff to people, dirty ass shit to people. Like, no, bro. You was not finna sit here and say just cause your mom slapped you, you finna rape fucking 16 women and cut their throats, bro. That shit don't even add up, bro. Go to therapy. Like, I'm sorry that shit happened to you, but come on, bro, that's fucked up.
Around the garden. They didn't play in the garden, just walked around all sort of stiff-armed. They weren't allowed out of the wall, said one person who knew the family. Some reports say that the father would at times make wife and daughter clean the carpet with a toothbrush. After the murders, Rose's lawyer said that Rose was never fully honest about this time in her life, adding, "You know, there was this man in a dark cape and dark hat, almost a shadow, following her as a child when she'd walked. And that was about as near as she'd get." Other reports state that she was raped by her father as a child, and Rose herself told a court that she had been raped by 2 different men in her youth. In a recording with police, Fred later would say her father was making love to her. She was...
I can't see how you make a kid, like you have a kid and you really sit there and fucking have sexual acts with your own kid, bro. Like, so you telling me you got your girl pregnant just so you could catch a nut on your kid, bro? Like, why don't you go fuck your wife, bro? Go get a hooker, bro. Like, your kid, bro. Like, that's the most innocent thing in the world, bro. Like, your kid, bro. Like, that's fucked up, bro.
More evil than he was. The family eventually moved to Gloucestershire, and guess who Rose would meet there in the future? Prior to the murderers meeting and Fred moving to the same county, he met an already pregnant Scottish runaway stripper/prostitute called Rena Costello. Together, they moved to Scotland and she became Rena West. In time, Fred got her pregnant again and worked as an ice cream seller from a van. The couple then took a girl as a nanny, 16-year-old Anne McFall. Fred had seen her crying in the streets and invited her to...
So my prayer went something like this. Okay, God, I need to know that you exist.
Spend the day in his ice cream van. Fred then fell out with drunken, violent Rena and moved to Gloucester after he killed a 4-year-old boy by accidentally running him over with his ice cream van. He wasn't suspected of doing it on purpose, but reports say he feared locals would be angry with him. He took the 2 kids with him. Fred next worked at a local slaughterhouse, which is where some say he developed a strange fascination with dismemberment and mutilation. 16-year-old McFall soon followed. Fred got McFall pregnant, and she wanted for him to stay with her.
How much fucking girls are you walking around getting fucking impregnant? Like, what's wrong with this guy? And the FBI still didn't fucking come after this fucking monster, bro? What's up with this dude, bro? This fucking menace.
And not with his wife, who had left him but returned unannounced. Fred wasn't keen on this idea and killed McFall instead.
Where's the FBI, bro?
Fred later told police he even told his father about this. The story of Fred and Rena is a long and chaotic one, but she was dismembered and buried too. He told different stories about how both these murders happened, and like with all his victims, said he suffered their hauntings. At this time, he met a 15-year-old who had a thing for older men. Her name was Rose. The 28-year-old Fred met her while she was hanging around a bus station in Cheltenham. They became acquainted, and soon Rose was part-time nanny for Fred's 2 kids, Charmaine and Anne-Marie, who he had taken out of care. This took a lot of gifts and persuasion, but Fred got his way. Rose even introduced Fred to her own parents. The mother said Fred was a pathological liar, and the father threatened to get the social services involved. Rose began living in a home for troubled teenagers, but she then moved in with Fred, became pregnant, and was put on social care. She told the local services she would return home to her family, but she went to live with Fred instead. He was soon imprisoned for petty crimes, and Rose had her child.
You're sitting here telling me that y'all got him in jail. Y'all didn't look into none of these murders or him hitting these kids, none of that shit, bro. I'm like, that shit crazy, bro. Like, that shit crazy. That shit crazy. Like, these serial killers be doing years of killing, my guy. Years of killing and raping females, my guy, before they get caught, bro. That shit ridiculous.
She was now looking after 3 children whom it said she violently abused often, once tying one child, Charmaine, the child Rena was pregnant with before she met Fred, naked to a chair, gagging and beating her. Charmaine's body was found years later, Rose having killed the young girl while Fred was in prison, telling the other girls that her mother had taken her away. Fred and Rose were married after all this, and they moved to an address that might be one of the most notorious addresses in UK history, 25 Cromwell Street. They had another kid, May June, but times were hard with all those children, so Rose began a new enterprise, selling her body. It said she slept with men for money that she met on the street, but also some of Fred's workmates, and sometimes men who were lodging at their house. This just got out of control, and soon she was doing acts for people with fetishes, which involved roleplay, being beaten, tied up. Rose would later say she was forced into these acts by Fred. Time went by, and now they had 8 children, some of different colors, as some of the fathers were clients of different ethnicities. Despite Fred being very much a maniac, some survivors who were abused said Rose was the beast of the house. She beat and abused the children, with some of them running away and sleeping on the streets. She'd kick and punch them in the head, even give them little cuts on their bodies with knives, and in all, the kids went to the emergency room 31 times for what were called accidents, and this is when they were really hurt, not just bruised up or suffering from bloody noses. One of her sons said she liked to tie him up. The Wests had a cellar downstairs where they would keep a mattress and instruments of torture as well as ropes.
So y'all have kids just to fucking torture them? So you say, bro, honey, let's have another kid. I want to torture another one. That's some sick ass shit, bro.
One occasion, they took one of the daughters down there. It's reported that Rose told her daughter afterwards, everybody does it to every girl. It's a father's job. Don't worry and don't say anything to anybody. This girl, Anne-Marie, was one of the children not murdered by her parents. She ran away at 15 and later told the press about this, and also that her uncle, John West, had raped her at least 300 times at that house. She later told the court, you must try and understand the regime of that household. It was very much sexually orientated there, and we were never told that anything that was happening was not a normal family environment. Once arrested, John West killed himself while awaiting trial. Even one of the lodgers who'd seen what was going on or taken part later killed himself. All in all, the Wests had over 100 lodgers over the years. So didn't anyone suspect anything? Well, the children were too young and afraid to do anything. The Wests did once pick up a young hitchhiker, tie her up and rape her, and the 17-year-old girl told the authorities. The 2 Wests were charged with assault, indecent assault, actual bodily harm, and rape. But they were only given a fine of 50 British pounds, or around $63. The girl tried to kill herself after hearing that. We can't go into every murder from here, but they involved young girls being picked up from the streets, abducted, or invited to become a lodger. They were often taken to the cellar, where they would be masked, sometimes with tubes stuck into the mouth.
RP to all those girls, bro. And that's the end of the video. I don't really feel like reacting to the rest. Shit got depressing, bro. Like, I don't see how shit like that could happen. Or how cops could really arrest a sick-ass psychopath and not know till a year later all that damage, bro. RP to all the girls he hurt. You feel me? Like, that shit hurt, bro. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Comment what video y'all want to react to next. And let's get it, man. We're gonna keep grinding. For sure.